All right, Justin, my boy, High Button Sports, High Button Podcast. What's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Sawyer, thank you for having me, brother. I remember the first time I got called up to the Mooseheads. I walked into the room, a little nervous, don't know anyone. You were one of the first guys to come up, shake my hand, say welcome to the team. So that moment is forever stamped into my brain. So I got all the time in the world for you. That was a cool moment for me. So thank you for that.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's funny. We go way back. Like that would have been what, 10, 12 years ago, I think we played together in junior.
2009, 2010, around there. Yeah, time flies. Where's the time go, eh?
Yeah, it's crazy. And you're obviously located in Halifax, so you are right in the thick of things with the Mooseheads. And man, they produced some players since we left.
Oh, I know, eh? I know.
Unbelievable, dude. It's hard to believe, like the fucking first overall talent and just the high end talent that they've been producing, and now years later we're seeing those guys sign like their second and third big contracts. It's
crazy. It's unbelievable the amount of talent that Bobby brought into that place. It's just like, whoa. When you look at the NHL now and you see these guys' names popping up, and they're not just like guys that are going up and down from the A, like they're contributors. Just they're there. It's pretty remarkable. It's a cool, really cool organization that they have here.
Yeah, it's it's special. You mentioned Bobby. It's funny that he sold the team. I think so. Brian, which was there when I was there, he's like he is a big position there with the Mooseheads, but specifically to this, he was reaching out on like a marketing task to get some videos from former players to congratulate Bobby. I think it was 20 years of ownership. So he reached out to myself, he reached out to Trey Lewis, he reached out to a handful of us guys, and we sent in these videos to congratulate his 20 year. And it wasn't a month later, he sold the friggin' team.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's like, what the hell's going on? We're sending in these congrats, like very personalized. I was here in my Country Liberty office, here it, like kind of showing like where I am now, and just saying like, Bobby, thanks so much. And like, obviously I aged a lot since then too. So it's like this nostalgia thing where it's like, Bobby, like, thanks so much for everything. And then like a month later I read, Bobby Smith sold the Halifax Mooseheads. I was like, the fuck?
And apparently like everyone knew, but like, did you know?
I didn't know.
Like when that press conference came out, he came up there and he's like, I can't believe this is a surprise. Like I thought this was a known thing, but I had no idea. I was talking to people like a couple days before because they put out like, we have an announcement. I had no idea.
No, I had no idea. And I think that there was some miscommunication internally too. Cause I mean, why? Well, maybe that was part of it. Maybe they wanted the videos and all of that as like a nice send off too to Bobby, I guess, in hindsight. But I had no idea. I was like, I walked around my warehouse because I wanted it to be like candid, but I also filmed it like 2 or 3 times. So I was like, well, I want it to be decent, like maybe this will be on the fucking Jumbotron. Like, I don't know. So I filmed it a couple times. I tried like hard and
that's awesome.
Yeah, then he sold it. So what wasn't really part of my kind of line of questioning, but here we go. Like what has changed since it's changed hands? I don't think I've been to a Moosehead game since. Like, how's the new ownership taking? How's the fan base taking? I know on social media, as social media is, there was a lot of like skeptics and things when the ownership first changed hands. Like, what's kind of been new since the ownership change?
Internally, I have no idea. I know from a fan experience, he's putting money into the team. I forget the new owners' names there, the father and son. Yeah. But I remember like the first game of the exchange over, there was like a t-shirt gun. And I remember the t-shirt gun they had with Bobby only shot out 1 t-shirt at a time, but the new t-shirt gun shot out like 8 t-shirts at a time. And I was like, all right, they're putting money into this thing already.
That's one way to win over a fan base. More t-shirt
honestly,
guns.
It's true. It's, Bobby built up a blueprint there of how to, get the families more involved rather than just the average, 30, 40, 50-year-old male coming to the game to grab a couple beer. They do such a good job with the family aspect of it. And it seems like the new owners there have taken that same business approach and it's working. And from, guys I talk to are the, like the trainers and the guys behind the scenes and all that. I've never really had an actual conversation with the owners, but from what they're telling me, they've been great. They listen to the players. They're listening to everyone that's been with the organization for years, and they're just going with the flow and taking advice from people that have been there.
Yeah,
what you want.
I think it's pretty cool. Like from an outside looking in, I see a lot of pictures. Like you said, it's a father-son combination, which I think is really cool. Like, I mean, who wouldn't want to have that type of, business project with your father and just bond over that? I see them in a lot of photos and things. Like they really seem to be physically involved, which is cool. There's a lot of standoffish, just rich owners that write the check and then don't really, do anything physically. So from the outside looking in, I think that's cool. Halifax, like, we've seen it with the World Juniors. We've seen it with so much success that they've had in the last handful of years since I left. since we left, they got good. It's not like it's a dying franchise that an owner came in and bought it at a fire sale and is here to save the day. Like this was a striving, successful, probably very, very expensive. Like when you look at the CHL, probably one of the most expensive franchises to purchase. And these guys come in and bought it with big shoes to fill. Dude,
I was at the game last night. It was Wednesday. Lower bowl full, upper bowl flirting with the Wednesday. Where else do you see that in junior hockey in Canada? I've never been to London. I've never seen a game in Quebec. But a Wednesday game at 7:00, lower bowl full. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
And I mean, you remember in our era, like we were one of the worst teams in the league. We were rebuilding. We were recovering from that Brad Marchand trade, essentially, where they traded everything to go for it the year that he was there. It was a different vibe for sure, and those weeknights sometimes were not that great. Lower bowl would be very scattered, absolutely nobody in the upper bowl, during the week. Weekends, if there was a good rival or something coming to town, there'd be more. But we didn't really have much talent. We were rebuilding, right? We were a hardworking team that just, we didn't have any high-end prospects, anything like that.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, you're completely right. I couldn't care less, though. For like the minimum games I got called up, I was living my dream because I lived right next to the Metro Center my whole life. So I could care if it was just my parents in the stands. As long as I got to wear that jersey, I was psyched. I didn't care.
Yeah,
even if I was on the bench, it was just, I don't know. It was a dream for me. That's why walking into that room was a big moment for me because you want to walk into that room and just feel like you belong. Yeah. And it's tough being that guy for the first time. So to have you come up, a respected guy on the team, you're missing a tooth, big old smile on you. You said, "Hey, Justin, how are you?" You acted like you knew me. And I was like, "Hey, Sawyer, you're the man. Thanks for, and it was great.
Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate that, man. That's, it's special. Like junior, I talked to a few guys about junior recently, and it felt like a long time, especially when you're losing. Some of those seasons dragged on when you're leaving home for the first time things, but man, that time flew. That was a couple years, and it just really a small stamp in our lives, in our careers in hindsight, right?
Yeah. What did you take from it? Those years, like as soon as you were done, it seems like Country Liberty took off. How many years after since you left junior hockey? Because I know you played a couple years pro.
Yeah. I think I moved to Europe in 2012.
Yeah.
And then I came back and finished my junior. That was a lockout year.
Yeah.
Like a lot of high-end talent flooded the streets of Europe, pushed me down the depth chart. I came back to the Mooseheads for like 3 weeks. They had their 3 20-year-olds in place. I got traded to Victoriaville. So I closed out. Yeah. At 20, I closed out in Victo. And then the boys went on to win it that year, the Mem Cup and everything.
I didn't want to mention it. I do know that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So what year was that? What year did they win the Mem Cup?
So that would have been 2012, I think. 2013, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So that was my last season junior, which is crazy. I mean, it's 10 years ago now, right?
It's crazy, but I always, in my situation, I always talk about life lessons I learned from playing hockey. But you started Country Liberty at such a younger age. What did you take from your hockey experience and go, okay, I can apply those lessons to this company? Yeah,
well, like looking back, I think hockey instills you with so much confidence, right? Like as a young kid, you're good at something, you're getting that validation, you're trying out for teams, you're making those teams. A lot of that I'm sure you can relate to, right? Which was just building character, teaching you to work well within a team environment, teaching you discipline, working through adversity, all those things, which I'm sure, and we're going to get into with your podcast, I'm sure that you relate now to real life scenarios. And it was all those lessons. And it seemed like at every level, every higher level, everything just got more and more intense. And so did those lessons, and so did those takeaways and those teachings, I remember being at Vancouver camp, and I've never seen people work so hard. Like I've just never witnessed that. And I've had jobs, I've had different jobs all the way up through my life. I played on different hockey teams, things like that. But just at that level, everything was risen to that next level. And there's a reason why those guys are at that level, because they're that special, right? They're that much of a minority.
Yeah, what a treat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was crazy. So for me, that's kind of what hockey has what I've taken away from hockey. But let me ask you the same question. I mean, you run a podcast now, which I'm so interested in. Obviously, I'm starting my own here. Very interested in that. Like, what did you take away from hockey that you now translate into your career and into your pod?
I should have known that was a question coming. I don't know. Just like getting over, it's not even about, like, hockey was obviously tough, but at the end of the day, we were playing a game that was fun. It was a great time. And there's obviously lessons learned in hockey, and you got to battle through, you're on the fourth line. You got to battle through that to get back up to where you want to be on the first line. And what does the coach think of me? Am I producing well? Like, all those things were challenges, I guess, within my own head. And I look at those challenges compared to the challenges I have with this podcast, and I kind of laugh at it. I just go, okay, this is really nothing. What's the worst thing that can happen? You produce a podcast and some guy in Alberta doesn't like it, whatever, keep it moving. Obviously, there's a good amount of people that listen to the podcast. I'm psyched on that. As long as I can please those people for hopefully the rest of my life, I'll be fine. I'm making a living at it. If I'm ever stuck in traffic, I see a guy mixing concrete on the side of the road. That guy's working 20 times as hard as I am. I can go home, sit in my basement, talking to a mic for an hour with a stranger. There's so many life lessons outside of the podcast that I just take from and go, okay, I can do this, because at the end of the day, I think I'm pretty good at it, and it comes naturally to me. So just keep riding it. So I'm really thinking about.
Yeah, I love the comparison in the matter of, like, perspective. Like you said, the blue collar guy working 12-hour shifts in the hot sun. It really adds perspective. And I always say too, or whenever I think I'm down on my luck, it's like, I used to fight quite a bit, right? So getting punched in the face, like if you get hit good, it sucks, man. There's not much more that sucks, right? So it's like, when I look at hardship in my life, I'm like, well, at least I'm not getting a flurry of punches in the face right now. It's been worse for $75 a week playing junior, right? So it's like, how hard can it be? And then when you look around, like you said, you look at what other people are doing and how hard they're working, and maybe the sacrifices they're making and things, it puts me in a place of gratitude, and just being thankful for the things that I have.
I remember I was playing beer league on, like, Sunday, like 5 years ago, back when the company was just, like, coming up, and it was Sunday night, and, like, the boys were complaining about going to work on Monday. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, I'm psyched for Monday. I can't wait to solve all the problems I got to solve. Like, I got to call this guy. I got to do this. And I remember that moment was, okay, keep doing what you're doing. You might not be making a ton of money right now. You might not be, doing what you want to do exactly, but at least you're not those guys sitting there going, I got to do this tomorrow. I got to do that. Like, I couldn't wait to wake up. So I remember that specific moment going, okay, just keep doing it. See what happens. And 5 years later, how we say time flies. I also took that into a lesson. It's like, all right, time flies. That's true. So it's just going to be a matter of time before 5 years gets here. Mm-hmm. And now we're sitting here, 5 years has gone by, and I'm not laughing, but I'm pretty happy of how things have gone. So
is that how long it's been? 5 years?
No, it's been like 7, but like 5 years I went full time on it. I was just
gotcha.
Like you just kind of lie to yourself and tell yourself it's full time, even though it wasn't, making no money, but you got to wake up every day. Did you?
Yeah. I did the exact same thing, man. Yeah. Exact same thing.
Do. What are those workplace programs you go in? I was like the Halifax Convention Center, like I was serving wine at like a thing. I lasted like 3 shifts, and I was like, all right, I'm cleaning forks here. Yeah, like what for $15 an hour, or I can just go home, work on my dream, and try to find some advertising dollars for a couple thousand. It's like, you got to weigh your time and money, and I was just like, I'm done with this. I'm going all in.
Yeah, and you're totally right about, like, I'd love to know the stats on how many people wake up miserable Monday morning, and how many people can't wait for 5 o'clock on Friday, to get off, go home, blow off steam, forget about work for 2 days of their week, and then be miserable for 5 days of the week. Like, I'd love to know the stats on that, because there's a lot of people. And I think that people quantify success in different ways. To me, success is being happy to go to work. I mean, we spend such a large part of our lives working. If you're miserable, I mean, you're spending a huge percentage of your life miserable, right?
100%. And I thought it was money at the beginning. then it wasn't. Money is just a tool. Like I thought, if I can just get some more money, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And then you start making a little bit of money, and then you start buying things, and you're like, man, that coat made me happy for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just like solving problems make me happy. I remember the first time we had 8 live streams going on a Saturday. I was so happy because that means there was 16 people working for me in one night doing streams around Atlantic Canada.
Wow.
And I remember I sat here in my basement. I wasn't doing anything. I was just looking at 16 games on my laptop, and I almost had a tear. Like I'm going, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe like this. It was the best feeling. So like solving problems and getting ahead in the business world makes me happy, not necessarily making money. It's solving problems one day at a time, step, keep moving forward. I love that feeling.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's hard to even put a dollar amount towards that, the live stream of, 8 live streams and 16 people working. Like it's just those moments in between that you make an advancement in your effort, basically, because that's your baby, right? And Country Liberty's my baby. So when I strike a big partnership deal, it's not about the cash that might come to the business 2 months later when they finally pay their invoice. It's about, holy shit, I just landed a big fish. This is exciting, and that's what was that?
Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, and that's what it's all about. Totally. Like you said, you can buy a new thing, you can buy whatever. And Jim Carrey, I love this quote. He says, I wish everybody could be rich and famous so they would realize that it's not what it's all cracked up to be. And it's so true, man. People are chasing money, buying things, typically for the wrong reasons. And they're still left unfulfilled, right?
100%. What was that first moment for you when you saw like a Country Liberty hat or a t-shirt just out and like no one knew that you were the founder? Like, do you remember that moment?
Those are my favorite moments. The irony is, like, I'm a pretty social guy and I'm pretty comfortable socially, but I'm also pretty shy when it comes to like customers and things. Like, I don't know how to take a compliment well, really. So if I see someone wearing my clothing, here's a example. Like if I'm walking somewhere publicly and I see someone wearing one of my items, I'm like shy for them to be like, hey, like, that's the guy, whatever, which is the opposite of how I should be. I should be like, fuck yeah, high five, bro. Like, what's up, But I actually get shy in those moments. So I really love walking directly past someone wearing my clothing and they don't know who the hell I am, because in the early days, a lot of people supported Country Liberty because they knew me or they followed my hockey or so on and so forth. But when I see a complete stranger that has no idea who I am, it's special because that means that they align with the branding, they align with the message, they align with the, maybe they're happy with the product. There's all those different reasons outside of myself why they're buying, and those to me are the sweetest sales, when I just know that my effort is paying off and working out, and it has nothing to do with like a personal relation to me. So
that's a great,
yeah,
I love it when I see the brand. I was at Costco the other day. I saw a couple Country Liberty hats. I'm like, man, I'm on that guy's podcast tomorrow. I can't, I love it, and especially because we played together. I don't know. I just love it. It's great.
A funny moment for me was, so I'm taking a lot of pride in specific items that we're developing, and some of the items that we develop are not high volume. They're not going to be like our best sellers. They're not going to pay the bills, but they're fun, right? Yeah. So for example, our corduroy button-ups this year was a new product, unproven, very fun, very personally, I really enjoyed it. So I was at the Harvest Jazz and Blues this September in Fredericton. Okay. And I roll in there and I'm looking around, right? And I don't get out that much. Like I don't like... I'm not like a big drinker or anything at the bars and things, right? So I don't get out that much, but I'm at this event, I'm having a few drinks, having fun. And I look over and there's this guy that's like super stylish. You can tell he's got like his kicks on. He's like right from the bottom up, he looks good. His top shirt was one of our cord button-ups. So I was like, fuck yeah. I finally, like, that's the first one I've seen someone else wearing. And then I look at his head and he's wearing one of your hats.
No way. No.
Yeah. So I said, dude, this is too funny. He's wearing the corduroy that I love so much, and then he's wearing your bucket. I was like, all right, cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, this guy gets it. I was like, this guy gets it.
I love it. It's the best. That's the best feeling to me.
Yeah,
it's the best. We were at the Moose game last night, me and my buddy, and we were with a couple other guys, and I was literally wearing this, and the beer guy comes up, and I had a beer in my hand. He goes, you need a refill? I'm like, no, man, I'm good. I appreciate it. Thank you, though. He goes, no, I got you. Hands us 4 beers. I go, okay, well, what do I owe you? He goes, nothing. I'm like, all right, man.
He's a fan of the
sounds
pod?
good. Just a fan of the pod.
Oh,
like
man.
those moments. So I messaged him this morning. I'm like, hey, man, come by the studio, pick up a quarter zip. I can't,
Yeah.
you know, just little things like that. It's just, you can't buy those moments. They just, I'm addicted to that.
Yeah.
I'm addicted. I love it.
And what people would misunderstand is like, oh, he saved $40 on a round of beer, but it's not about the $40. It's about the principle of, this guy is such a fan that he like kind of wants to treat me like, because my work has, and you're working hard. Like we all see that, and I'm sure he sees that. So he's like, I'm going to reward this guy. He's working hard, and I listen to his content, for free all the time. So this is a way to give back, which is what makes it special. It has nothing to do with that $40 saving, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the relationship. Like I said, you can't buy that feeling. It's the best.
Yeah. No, it's so cool. So what led you to starting the pod? Like what led you originally? Like walk me right through like the very beginning, just kind of thinking about it and then actually taking action.
Yeah, I was in school and I was kind of just, not flunking out, but, flunking out. You just don't really know what you're doing. I'm watching Dazed and Confused every day. And I was
all right.
I just got to keep living.
That's right.
And I was working at the Prince George Hotel right next to the Metro Center there. Okay. And I was a concierge doing valet for nice people. And one of my coworkers came up to me because you got a lot of time to kill on that job. So you're just talking with your employee friends, and one guy randomly just said to me, he goes, man, you're good at talking. And like that's kind of where it hit.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm good at talking? I'm just good at talking. I don't even think I'm good at talking, but he said I was.
Yeah.
And I remember I was a really big fan of like Joe Rogan back then. I was a big fan of, Casey Neistat. Oh, you must know Casey.
No.
Like he's like a YouTube guy. And that's kind of where I got.
Oh, yes, I do. Yep.
Looking at like cameras and stuff.
Yep. I know.
So then, I don't know, you go home and you're like, man, like, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a lawyer. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop thinking of that compliment. You're good at talking.
Yep.
So I just said, fuck it, just try it. I started a little thing called The Locals in my kitchen with my buddies. And I just started having friends over, talk to them. And then that just, it wasn't scalable. Like I could only do one episode like every month. It was just so hard. I was like, podcast, you can scale it. You can do 2 to 3 a week. Gets more content out there, and then that's just kind of how it started. And then the next thing you know, people start paying you for it. And the next thing you know, you get guys like Nate on, and the next thing you know, the ball's rolling. And that's the thing with these podcasts. It's the relationships that you make with people. And it's like, oh, okay, you should have my cousin on. He played for this team. You should have my brother on. He did this. And the next thing you know, it's almost overwhelming, and you try not to be rude and say no because everyone wants. Yeah. That's the next challenge for me is, that's the thing I'm probably dealing with the most internally is trying not to be a dick and say no.
Insult people by saying no. Yeah.
It's tough for me right now because there's a lot of, there's people emailing me saying, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. And they're writing long ass emails. Yep. And I'm just like, that's what I'm triggering the most. But to answer your question, yeah, that's how it all started.
I had a conversation this morning actually with a colleague about saying no. And, a lot of people, because I'm the clothing guy, they'll come to me with these clothing ideas, but it's like, if it's not really within our core business, it's kind of like, very small scale. Like, okay, you want like half a dozen items. Like it's not really my business model. It's not really what I do, but a lot of people feel they're helping me out. Well, you're the clothing guy. Let me help you with this. And it's like, it's really, really hard to say no, especially when you're just so thankful that people want to do business with you.
Yeah.
It's tough, but one of my like mentors, says, and I might get it wrong here, but he says to me, a yes to somebody else is a no to yourself sometimes, right? So if I said yes to every single little opportunity that shows up at my door, I'm saying no to my greater purpose, my greater vision, my greater goals, right? Like, if I'm tied up on the phone all day for a small scale project, that could be me indirectly saying no to a big scale project, right? Because we only have so many hours in a day. We only have so much like working bandwidth. So I carry that with me now. And I remind myself when I feel impolite for saying no to people, it's like, well, I got to say no to you because I'm saying yes to myself. I'm saying yes to my greater purpose, my greater goals, my greater priorities and things, right?
I never thought of it like that. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, we only have 24 hours a day, right? And we only have, 8 to 12 good working hours a day. And if you tie that up with things that are just not really in line with your purpose and your goals, you're kind of cheating yourself, right?
Well, you're cheating your business too. I remember I said yes to something like 2 months ago, and I completely forgot that I was in Moncton and this thing was in Halifax. And I said yes, thinking I could drive back really quick from Moncton and do it in Halifax.
Yeah.
And I didn't even end up doing it. And I felt awful. And that was my lesson. Like, man, don't say yes if you can't do it 100%. I still feel bad. And, you know, there's little lessons like that along the way that you just, like you said, you got to say no to say yes to your greater self. Makes sense.
And what I've learned about that too, it's like a no in the beginning, way in advance, is way better than a last minute no, obviously. But also just a clear cut no. Like I always find myself justifying paragraphs, you know, here's why I can't do it. And it's cumbersome, you know, and I feel like just a quick, swift, rip the Band-Aid off. Listen, I'm sorry. I don't have the time. I can't do it. I would love to do it in theory. It's just not in the cards. Best of luck. You know, I find that's kind of has been the best approach for me anyway when saying no, because that's been a growing pain of ours as well.
All right, good. At least I know I'm not the only one going through it.
No.
You're good. Okay. Do you got a sauna out there at your place?
No, I got a hot tub and a cold tub.
That's what it was. So where are you at now? Are you at your place or at your office?
This is my warehouse now. This is my office.
Congrats on that, by the way. That thing looks like it went up like that. I don't know who built it, but kudos to them.
Yeah, no, I didn't touch anything on this build, which is probably why it went up smooth. But
how far is it from like your place? Like how far is the commute?
10 minutes.
Oh my God, you're laughing.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes.
Sick.
Yeah. So my place is, and I wanted to separate the two. I used to work from home, and I had a hard time disconnecting, you know? So now I find this is nice when I close the office doors. For the most part, I try not to take work home with me, you know? So yeah, that's kind of my vibe.
Tough though. But you got a sick spot. Like you're on the lake.
Yeah. No, it's nice, but it's I mean, you know what it's like when you own something, when you own the business, it's all on you, man. So if there's an issue, you know, maybe that'll keep you up late at night or whatever. So I do try to use my space, and that's why I have like a nice private space. That's on purpose to just do as best as I can to just kind of be alone, unwind, kind of chill, hang out with nature, not to be like cheesy, be one with nature. But
you got the pontoon boat out there too. That's nice.
Yeah, boating's a nice way to disconnect. That's kind of the one recreational activity where I truly forget about work is when I'm out there, you know. So that's something I really try to prioritize. But yeah, how about you? Where's your studio? Like, are you set up at home right now, or where?
Yeah, I'm just in the basement of my house. So my fiance now, we bought a house in 2020 March, right before the pandemic. Damn. And the basement was unfinished, and pandemic, everyone had so much time, and my fiance is an interior designer. So we just said, okay, let's just work on the basement, figure it out, make it comfortable for people to come over and work, because it was a little stuff. You know what an unfinished basement looks like. It's a little stuffy, but we bought one of those like sprayer paint guns and decked it. It's all white now, nice tables. Yeah. Just a good, clean working space. And I know what you mean, how you want to disconnect yourself from work. Yeah. But I'm not at that point yet. I love just to be able to come down while I'm, you know, got some pasta boiling upstairs. I can come down really quick. I'm just not at that point yet where I can have an office somewhere. I love just coming down and just grinding out for, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, get that email done, even though it's 8:00 at night, just, you know, I enjoy it. But I definitely see a point maybe in the next 2 to 3 years where, because we're like, we got like 8 cameras in here, like 7 tripods, HDMI. We're just outgrowing the space. Mm-hmm. But I just love it down here. It's the best. So when you have guests, like, do you typically, I mean, you were doing this before COVID, so you must have seen a lot of in-person guests and then all virtual. And then now is it more hybrid? Is it like, or do you have people in the studio? No, we still have people in the studio. I like in-house podcasts, like just me and the crew. We always have guests on. Zoom, this is great. Riverside, I find sometimes Zoom or like Google, I forget what Google Meets it's called. There's like a second leg. So when I ask a question, there's that awkward. Yeah. But this is great. Riverside, like we're chatting, we're having a great convo. But I really like in person. You can feel the mood. You can feel you just feel it a bit more. But right now we're doing a lot of conversations with people who work here, and I think a lot of people like to know what the company is going through, like our challenges. People like to understand the behind the scenes aspect of what it takes to grow a company. And like, you know, yesterday at the Moosehead game, people coming up to me saying, oh, that was a cool thing you guys had to go through up in Cape Breton. It's great how you hired this guy and switched this around. So people are listening and understanding what we're going through, and it makes them feel like they're part of the ride with us, because we're definitely on a ride. Yeah.
So what are some of those challenges? You know, you started from the bottom, now you're here. Like what's been the challenges up through, and what are the challenges you're facing now?
Well, with the live stream, it's just meeting the demand. You know, we've made it affordable for minor league teams to be able to stream with us all year. Same with major midget, U16, U15, even junior B as well.
And that's sustainable from a business point of view for you guys?
It is sustainable.
Oh, great.
The biggest challenge I would say is people. You know, you can control gear. You're going to invest some money. Let's say we have a contract out in, like Cape Breton. You know, the guy who we hired in Cape Breton, he didn't have a camera, a tripod, he didn't have a laptop, HDMI cord. So yes, it's an investment from the company standpoint, but we make our money back within, 5-6 games. Okay. So now this guy has this equipment that's going to last them 4 or 5 years. Right. So yeah, we take a hit at the beginning, but it's the people. Our business is Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Sunday. And if you're hiring teenagers, young adults, and you're paying them X amount of dollars, what's more valuable to them? Going out to the bar, chasing tail,
that's right,
or working on your career?
Yeah.
So it's I think that's in every business. What's the biggest challenge? It's hiring the right people.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the management side and hiring, Dudes, obviously. Dudes is a dog. Dudes is, when you start a business, you got to make $1 stretch, and that guy knows how to make a quarter stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's a dog, and he's still with us. If we need something like that, dudes, go to Home Depot, pick up an extension cord that's 200 feet because we can't get the outlet there to get down there. Boom, he's gone back in 20 minutes. Like, he's just the glue guy. We got a guy named Jeff Warburton who's from Bedford, went to Ryerson for sports management. Same thing, was supposed to have an internship at Sportsnet. Pandemic hit, had to move home, did his internship with us. And I saw the value in him, really smart. And he's been able to stick with us for the past 3 years. And same thing, that guy's just a grinder. Knows how to communicate, knows technology really well. I'm actually going to be pissed at him that he doesn't know what Riverside is. And, yeah, I know. But just, from the management side, I'm really happy with the people who we have on board. Yeah. Now it's just about getting the everyday employees, workers to feel motivated to grow their own careers. Because right now we don't have enough money to give people salaries. So it's game based. So that's not their fault. That's my job to make sure that they have a comfortable career and they can work for many years with this company. So that's always like in the back of my head to grow it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, I think and I talk to a lot of business owners too about staffing and things, and it's been a struggle for everybody to find good people that want to do stuff. I think since the pandemic, there was a big culture shift too. A lot of people, one, working from home. A lot of people, two, realized different ways that they didn't have to work and they could still survive somehow. I'm not sure how, but, so I just think that it's been tough, I think. And I know, like, when I talked to my father when he was growing up, and the way that he raised me was like, they used to compete for jobs, especially like a fun job. Like if there's a job you'd enjoy doing, which I feel both our businesses actually would be fun to work within. People would compete for those positions, and there'd be like 40 resumes, and you'd try to be the one to break through. Like I remember when I was in university, man, I applied for a few places to be a bartender. Of course, I had no bartending experience, but I was like, oh, fuck, I'm social. I can do this, whatever. Man, I never got a call back. I never got a damn call back. Actually, the only callback I got was because a friend worked there, and they told me I had to cut my hair because at that time I had long hair, and to be serving drinks I had to have short hair, and I said, I'm not cutting my hair. So I never got a job after applying for so many. And now as an employer, it's tough to find talent, and in a rural area it can be tough too. Living in a small town. You got to kind of get creative. But what I have realized, and my business model has been keeping my team small and keeping them lean, is once I find people like, team players, I'm with them. Like they're very much a part of of course I'm the boss technically, but I don't operate that way. Like we're a team. We work together in tandem. We're a team. And when I find those people that are just fantastic, man, I do whatever I can to stick with them and to keep them happy and keep them satisfied and fulfilled and things within their position. Because good people are hard to find. And when you find them, man, hang on to them.
I look for athletes. I look for hockey players.
Yeah.
Because they know how to grind. They know what extra effort is. So I look for like junior hockey players. We got a couple like interns from high school up here that play like on the hockey team. They, you know, hockey players are just built different, so they know how to translate hard work into this. You know,
Right.
it's Saturday night, game goes to double overtime. You're in a freezing rink.
Yeah.
It sucks, but hockey players know that second gear.
Right. Totally.
You know?
And and it's again, back to the hockey thing. Like, I remember going to, say, camps where I didn't know or when I moved to Europe, I didn't know anybody in the entire continent. I didn't even speak to my coach, my GM, nothing. I just showed up there, obviously language barrier, things like that. But what that taught me was like, you either do or die. Like, I could have just stayed in the corner and been a shy little insecure person, or you go and you just start making friends. You sit down at the table, you're like, hey guys, I'm Sawyer, what's up? And like half the people don't even speak the damn language. And you're just like, well, I'm here, like, what's up? But I find hockey has really forced me to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You know, you're trying out for a team, you're trying to take Buddy's spot next to you, but you also have no one to eat lunch with, so you're going to sit and shoot the shit with them, you know, but at the end of the day, you're gunning for his job, you know. So there's just a lot of stuff like that I think translates into, you know, into business and into work and into, you know, just going through the tough times and the adversity and things, right?
100%. Oh my God. So many relatable scenarios.
Yeah. So again, selfishly, I'm going to ask you a bunch of podcast questions because I'm starting this pod. Like, walk me through like the moments of starting the pod, doing it out of passion, realizing, you know, eventually you got to monetize this thing. Like, what did that look like? How did you monetize your podcast? Like, how did that start in the early days and how did that change up until now?
Well, at the beginning, I would just do it for free, like monetize. My mom owned a spa when I started it, and she didn't give me any money. She was just letting me live at her house rent free. So I was like, you know, I'll run a couple. So at least it made it look like I never said, you know, this episode's brought to you by my mom's spa. You know, I just said, Mom, yeah, technically it was. She's letting me live and eat there. Yeah. So I just kind of made it up. So the listeners, they thought I was making some money. So maybe other companies would hear this and go, oh, wow, there's other companies out there giving them money. So that's kind of like where it started. And then I remember like, oh man, if I told you some of the stories I would do to like make money.
Well, you got to be scrappy in the beginning. That's what people don't realize. They see business owners or they see the success and they're like, oh, fuck, that looks pretty sweet. But it's like, dude, you don't, like, you have to be scrappy in the beginning.
And but not even you do, but I didn't know who to ask. I probably asked you for money. Like I asked everyone for money.
Yeah.
Like anyone I knew. Like I remember I'd go, there's a pizza place down the street from my parents' house. I'd be there every day getting a slice of pizza. The owner would be there. I'd ask him every day, come on, man, you advertise, please, come on, don't even give me money, just give me a free slice. Like just you know, I would do, and I would do anything to get people on board. And eventually I think our first advertisement, actually I got it right here. It's I don't know if you can see it. It's a check right here.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's it's I don't know if you can hear me. It's $51. You know Tyler Noseworthy?
Yeah.
He played for Victoriaville actually.
Yeah.
He was selling life insurance.
Oh yeah.
Sun Life, and we had a meeting at Roxy's. And he bought like, I don't know, 5 episodes. It was $10 an episode, $51 there. And
unreal.
But that was a big moment for me because it's like, wow, okay, this guy's willing to give me $50. It doesn't matter if it's $50 or $1 million. It's the principle of trusting someone with that money to promote your product.
Yeah.
So when I first got that $51, it meant the world to me. So But yeah, you got to be scrappy. You got to email everyone and you got to know who to email. You don't email McDonald's when you got 10 episodes out. They're not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
So you got to start with the right companies, maybe start local, and then you can start to work with the corporations. You know, we're working with Atlantic Lottery now. They've been great for us for the past 2 years, that's Proline. Awesome. But that's the thing. I didn't even reach out to them. They reached out to me. And I remember my mom went to work one day and I was like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I got manicure. I got to do a massage. I got to do someone. And I was like, okay, she's doing the work. And I remember I would spend days emailing companies, not actually doing any work on High Button Sports.
Right.
So when I had that conversation with her, I was like, Justin, stop worrying about the money. Focus on the work and the money will come.
Yep.
And then that's just what I've always kind of done. I've never really focused on advertising. It's just always come to me if I work hard on the company, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And Atlantic Lotto, that's no joke, man. That's a huge sponsor. They're a big fish. So that's exciting. Congratulations. That's cool.
I appreciate that. No, they're great. And they give me the creative freedom. Like they don't obviously 19 plus, you have to be really aware of that whenever you're promoting their product. But as long as they get approved, they've just been really good to work with.
When because I've been pretty widespread after hockey, figuring out things that I like to do, things I was good at, things I wasn't good at. And at one point I kind of went down, well, not kind of, I did. I went down like a photography route and a bit of a influencer route, influencer in quotations, because that term is used so heavily. But basically the reason I bring this up is you talk about doing the work first and the sponsors come to you, and people used to ask me like, well, how did you get that partnership? How do you get this partnership? And I used to say like, post in influencer terms, post like what you want, like who you want. Like if I wanted a cooler brand, okay, or maybe that's a beer brand, I would start posting cool beer shots so that they could see, okay, this is Sawyer's work. This is a different beer brand maybe, but you could insert my product into this style photography, this type of influence. And, so I would say like, if you want a travel contract, start posting travel content. If you wanted, for a while, I was super into like unique Airbnbs. So I would rent a few Airbnbs, post the shit out of them. And then the other Airbnbs would contact me and be like, geez, I like your work. You want to stay here for free? And in some cases, we'll pay you to go there. We'll pay you to go there. So you're absolutely right. The work comes first. And I think that a lot of people don't really know how to approach that. Yeah. So I love that you've kind of realized the same things because, the work comes first and often it'll speak for itself,
Yeah, just trial and error. It's like what you said is so simple, but maybe to the average person, it just seems really complicated. Yeah. Like I remember emailing companies and like, not lying, but being like, we're doing this, we've done that. And half of the stuff I was saying wasn't even really true. Like, man, we haven't done this. We haven't done that. Why don't I just go do these things? And then I can actually physically show them. That's what I say when people send me paragraphs of emails that are so long. I'm like, okay, don't type it out. Show me it.
Right. Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? Yep. Show me, like, you've done street interviews. Send me the video. Maybe we'll hire you to do street interviews for me. Let me see something. Don't email me going, hey, I'd like to do street interviews for you.
Right.
It's
show me. No, I love that. And part of my sales pitch too now, it's so refined when I'm reaching out for partnerships and things. I usually name drop a few of my credible partners. I say I've worked with Molson on a national campaign. I've worked with Bell. I've worked with Cavendish. We're in so-and-so stores. And Dragon's Den, going on Dragon's Den, I share that fucking link, man. And it's maybe that's douchey. I don't know, but I think it's going to give me credit. It's going to my credit, this is what I've done. And this is, and I think that all of that, I couldn't agree more. The work comes first. A lot of people are entitled. Well, I had this good idea and but we all know that ideas mean nothing. Can you do it? Can you actually execute on this idea? That's what means something, right?
100%. And you got to have balls to execute because you're going to get made fun of if you fail. But then it goes back to what you said. You got to have thick skin.
Yep.
You going to Europe, walking in there, no one's talking to you. What does that build? Thick skin.
Missing front tooth, dude. Hair past my collarbones. I don't know if you've ever been to Europe, but those guys are fashionable. I look like a fucking lumberjack straight out of a fucking double wide trailer. Missing tooth, long hair, dude. I was so out of place. Like I remember going to the bars and hitting on girls. And they would look at me because hockey wasn't a big thing in Austria. And they would look at me and they'd be like, Sawyer, like, why don't you have a tooth? Like, get a job. Like, what's your problem? You don't have a dental program? And I'd be like, no, I'm a hockey player. Get it? And they'd be like, no, you're just gross. Like, fix your teeth. And honestly, man, that was the reaction. I was like, what the hell? But yeah, you gotta have thick skin, especially if you want to kind of disrupt. And if you want to do something unconventional, you have to be unconventional, And I always say, if you want to do something special, you better fucking be special. Because those special things like, a podcast centered in Halifax, not everyone can do that. You got to earn that, And I think that that's really cool. And watching your journey kind of unfold and just seeing you pull it off, man. It's cool because there's a lot of people that just kind of fizzle out and they say they want to do it and they don't take action.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like it's tough. Like it's not easy. But that's kind of what I like about it because it separates me from, the people that want to try to do this and then they try it and then you don't see anything a couple years later. Like I take great pride in my work and I love my consistency. I love what I bring to the table. My word, I think, is everything. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And just the lessons you've learned along the way, it's just Man, it's just awesome. Entrepreneurship's a really cool thing because it turns you into the person that you want to become. When I was in high school, university, I always wanted to be this guy.
Yep.
And now I am. And it comes through confidence of, if I had, I just remember when I had like 20 episodes, like I was, whatever, I was happy, but I wasn't confident in my ability to produce a really world-class podcast. Now I'm confident in my ability to do it because I've gone through, not the whole journey, but I've definitely gone through a little bit of the journey of trying to make a good podcast. And through those trial and errors, I can answer any question. I can, talk to the best of them. Getting Nate on was huge. George LaRock, just some big names. And
so what was like your proudest moments? I mean, those guys are huge.
Man, proudest moment. Probably Nate. Like, I hate to say Nate because he's such a, that guy.
Dude, he's just superstar. He's unbelievable.
But remember how you said, like, when you went to Vancouver and you got to be like around like the pro guys and like how hard they work? Like, it's not like Nate came over here and did a workout. He sat here for an hour and we talked, but just sitting here for an hour with him, I question whether or not he's human. He's just like,
next level.
He's so, I can't even describe him. Like he's just a guy who is so focused and wants to win.
Hyper focused, man. He's a winner. Yeah. He's a winner. Sid had it. Sid has it. But I mean, Sid was kind of the first coming of that. Yeah. And McKinnon is, he's a winner, man. He just
wants to be better. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's why he's like top 3 in the world on everybody's list, maybe top 2. That's why he's where he is, right?
Yeah. So that's where you want to get in terms of like focus and discipline. And he's just to be around him for an hour. It's cool. It's cool. He's good friends with Sab. Obviously, Sab.
Oh, yeah, Sab.
And just like complete opposite personalities. But like, I feel like that's good for Nate to have Sab around. It's just,
the balance.
Sab will make fun of him, joke about life. Whenever Nate came over, Sab was always with him. And I just thought, that relationship makes sense. He can, make him enjoy life a little bit more, maybe.
So when I was living in Europe, Sab was my roommate.
What? For the Red Bull team?
For the Red Bull team, man. Yep.
No.
Yep. Yeah, Daryl Young, who was a scout for Vancouver.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Friend of the show. There you go. He was a big part of the reason why I got drafted to Vancouver. And then he sent me and Sab to Europe to develop because me and Sab played a similar game. He had more offense than I did, but we were big, brute, tough defensemen, right?
I remember.
And we had to be a little more polished. He sent us to Europe to kind of polish us up. And Daryl did that. And he didn't have to do that. He just did that because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But Sab was my freaking roommate. But Sab and I go back from 11, 12 years old. And when you see him, ask him about the Mission Cup in Montreal, the finals. And I'll tell you what he did. We were in the finals. We were on this little local Atlantic All-Star team, whatever. And Sab has a temper. And he in the final, he speared a guy, took a 5-minute major. They scored twice on the major and we lost in the final.
No.
That was my first. We were 11 or 12 and he was staying in a hotel room with me and my father. So we were probably sharing a damn bed at that time. I don't know. And he was with Dad and I and we just met, whatever, and that was like my first impression. Speared a guy in the final, 5-minute major, and we lost.
That's amazing. That's a Sab story. That's very accurate.
Yeah.
I remember when I got called up, it was right after a goal. I don't know who scored, us or them, but he was playing for Cape Breton. And you guys were both on the ice, and I was on the wing, so I was right in the middle, and you guys were chatting. Yeah. And I don't know who asked who to go, but someone's shoulder was hurt, so someone couldn't go.
I asked him to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Sab goes, I can't right now, my shoulder.
Yeah.
And then I just remember the respect level you had for him.
Yeah,
you just go, okay, man, no worries. Because you know how you can kind of put on a show, not really go, throw with your left.
Yeah.
But Sab, it was just cool how when I'm basically up in the stands the whole time watching, but to be on the ice and hear that conversation, how it went, it was kind of cool to see you guys go back and forth like that at a respect level.
My favorite part of that story is I still bring it up like every 6 months. I'm like, man, you totally bitched out. I asked you to fight, man. You bitched out. And it was a wrist or shoulder or something. You're right. He was hurt.
Yeah.
And back then, like he's a big guy now. He was thin then. So I was bigger than him then. And he was injured, and I asked him to fight. And of course he said no. And like you said, we respected that because he's my buddy. I wouldn't want to embarrass him or hurt him or whatever. I wasn't going to jump him or something. Right. But yeah, he was hurt, and I still tease him all the time. And honestly, like today's day and age, I wouldn't probably fight him. Like you know, but back then it was like, we're trying to make the NHL, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So last night we're at the Moosehead game. It was like the first period. I don't know the guys, but they were this close to going, and you could tell they wanted to go, but it was 5 minutes into the first, and it was a great game, Halifax Moncton, and they should have, they wanted to go, but they knew if they fought, they're gone. And it was, you know, I was a beer deep, so I'm, you know,
yeah.
And it's just nothing. There was a little part of me that was broken. That was like, oh my God, it would have been so great to see that fight. And it was a tough one.
Yeah.
Selfishly. But,
I want to, like, that was one of the biggest things I had bold letters highlighted I wanted to talk to you about today was no fighting in the queue. I mean, maybe you covered this on your pod and you know, I didn't hear it, but I would love your opinion on this.
It's natural. Like hockey is in Canada's DNA. It's in our blood. It's in our soul. And fighting is part of that DNA. Like yesterday, it felt so unnatural. People were standing up because it looked like a fight. But then everyone realized, oh yeah, there's no fighting. Mm-hmm. And it was just so unnatural to see it, because from birth, watching hockey, I know the body language of two guys before they're about to drop the gloves. Yep. And the body language was there. The linesmen, their body language was there. Yep. But then everyone in the rink, even the players, even the ref, the linesmen, everyone went, oh yeah. It just, like I said, Sawyer, it felt so unnatural. And it's just a shame that there's people in power that are making these decisions for thousands of people, thousands of kids that are trying to, I'm not saying fighting's the way to go in today's day and age, but it definitely doesn't hurt you. It shows you care, shows you give a fuck.
Well, it's changing the direction of the game. These decision makers are changing the direction of the game.
It's tough, man. It's just, not that yesterday wasn't a physical game. It was physical, nice hits. But, you know, that fear element of knowing if you're being a little rat, there's a chance you have to fight, that was gone. There was definitely some questionable things going on the ice, and not imagine that though. Like, it was a good game. I'm not complaining. I paid my money. I'm happy I went. But as a consumer, someone who paid a ticket, to see a fight 5 minutes in would have changed the outcome of that game. It would have even made it a little bit more physical. It would have made the fans go a little bit more rowdy. It would have, you know, it changes everything, every single element of that rink, the environment. And it was just like a part of my childhood was gone, because I loved watching, you know, guys care, guys give a fuck. You know, today's game, you know, not that I don't mind a couple guys taking a photo at the red line during warm up. I get it. It's your brother, your friend. Do what you got to do. But if you allow that culture to come into the game inch by inch by inch by inch by inch, slowly, are we even playing hockey? That's my, I don't like, you know, you're getting rid of fighting. Yeah, it sucks. But they're taking it piece by piece, month by month. You look at the shower thing. They're taking away the culture. And that is what is the biggest issue for me. Right. It's hockey. It's in our blood. It's in our soul. It's in our DNA. You don't need to change it. We've always had this conversation. How do we make hockey more popular? Hockey's good. Let it be. I understand maybe the personalities of the players are a little dry. You want them to cause a little controversy because that's what sells. I get it. But man, hockey is the most beautiful, purest game in the world. And if you continue to take these little beautiful things about it away, what's it going to look like in 20 years? I don't know. And maybe you have an answer.
It's respected. When you listen, when you talk about other athletes, like non-Canadian athletes, people that probably haven't watched many hockey games in their lives, NBA stars, NFL stars, soccer players in Europe, when they talk about hockey, they're like, that sport's fucking crazy. They're skating around on a little sharp blade that could literally kill you in an instant if it cut you in the wrong place, with sticks that are like basically weapons, and you can fight, you can just fist fight, and it's allowed. You know, they look at, and you're it's such a high impact sport. Yes, the athletes are smaller than football players, but the hits are harder because you're going twice as fast, you know? So like a lot of other athletes really respect what hockey is. And I'm worried that we're just tailoring the game in a direction that's less respectable. And, you know, fighting, I've seen the progression. Like when I played, The year before I played, here's a good example. Ashton Bernard led the queue in fights with 30 fights. Okay.
I just got tingles saying his name. I was like, "Oh, is he here?"
Yeah, that guy's a nut. That guy's a nut. He actually played a role. I don't know if he knows this, but he played a big role in getting me drafted to the NHL because my first year as a rookie, he was the heavyweight. He fought 30 times the year before. And my first year as a rookie, I was in and out of the lineup, healthy scratch. And I was a healthy scratch on, I think it was a Friday night. And the next Saturday, the whole day, I just said, like, this fucking feeling sucks. I don't want to be healthy ever again. I have to do something to stand out. So my very first shift of the game, I yell across the ice in Cape Breton in the center 200 or whatever the hell that rink's called. And I yelled across, "Hey, Bernard, we're going." And he was the league heavyweight. So he's like, "What? Like, who's this fucking skinny little malnourished fucking rookie kid yelling, barking at me?" And I fought him and I was never healthy again. So that set me on a good direction. But I guess back to my original point was he fought 30 times. And then 2 years later, I led the league in fights with, I think, 20. Okay. So within 2 years, it went from 30 to 20. Now I think guys, maybe league leaders, they'd be under 10 for sure, maybe 4 or 5 fights. And back then you could fight and still play. You'd serve your 5 minutes and you'd play. So if I fought in the first period, which I did many times, I could still finish the game and play. It was a 5-minute slap on the wrist, which was just a great way to catch a breather. And really, I was only playing every third shift anyway. So I missed like 1 or 2 shifts. And then I'm right back out playing. So I think removing the ability to fight twice was a big change. I think naturally people were fighting less and less. Like I said, Ashton at 30, 2 years later, me at 20, and so on and so forth, which is fine. And I also seen the generational change of every team has a big brute tough guy that's just a thug that can barely skate to guys that have to be able to play, which I agree with. I don't agree with having a big brute that fucking has a criminal record and can barely skate and can beat the shit out of somebody. I don't really like that, but I do like, and I think that forever the game should have a place for people that can play and fight. You look at Tom Wilson. That guy's a first, second line player, and he can also beat the shit out, or the Kachucks, or, those guys, man, they're contributors. They're great, great players, but they can also fight. And I think that that's what we're missing most. I think that we went too far with it. I agree. Okay, maybe no more brutes, but you got to keep it in the game every once in a while to keep people accountable, right? Because it's like you said, the little rats running around, they know they're not going to be held accountable, so they can be little rats and they get away with it. And I played university, man, and there's no fighting in that league. And there was a lot of little rats, and I fought. I got suspended. I beat the shit out of a guy because he was a little rat, and I took my suspension on the chin. I said, sure, but I had to keep that guy accountable, and I think that's what we're missing in the game. And I did a CTV interview, which was so biased. I don't know if you've seen it. I was very upset, semi-upset after when I seen the recording, because I did an interview for 40 minutes and they put 60 seconds of my clip, and then they took, I think it was a sociology fucking whatever major that had 4 minutes of interview to argue my points. So none of my points were even shown. Yeah. So then I made a TikTok video that went viral with my points. So I was like, all right, whatever. I got my message across. Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting at there is, like, you take people that played the game, that have been there, and then you stack these professionals that studied about sociology in school, and now they have this role to influence hockey as a whole and say, like, oh, fighting shouldn't be allowed, and here's why, because I read it out of a textbook. And then when there's guys like yourself and myself that have played the game arguing that there should be a place in it, I feel that disconnect is just irresponsible and disappointing, frankly.
Yeah, we're just taking away challenges. I remember when I had to fight for my first time, I didn't want to do it, but I stepped up to the challenge.
Yeah.
And once it was over, it was like, what are those cultures like where you got to go kill a deer and you feel like a man for the, you got to wipe the blood on your, like, that's what I felt like. Yeah. I was like, I'm part of a brotherhood right now. It was one of the best, most purest feelings I've ever had in my life. And if we start taking away these little obstacles for kids or teenagers, whatever it is, it just, I don't know, when real life hits you, what are you going to do when a challenge faces you? Are you going to sit there and run and not face it? I face my challenges head on. You do too. Real men face their challenges and provide. It's just these little things that you're taking away from sports. I don't know. They're the most valuable things to sports. Overcoming obstacles. And if you're not going to overcome obstacles.
It's that small minute, that act of courage, like you starting your own business, you being a pioneer, me starting my business. A great example is Dragon's Den. When I pitched Dragon's Den, I had the same butterflies and the same nervousness and feelings in my stomach that I did before a big game and I did before a big fight. And a fight, as you know, it's a moment act of courage. You just got to get your gloves off. Then you're in it. Then it's fight or flight, right? But you got to get off the bench. You got to get on the ice. You got to drop the gloves. It's that moment of courage, that surge of I can do it, and you throw yourself into a situation, and then you realize I'm fine, and you pull it off. And Dragon's Den was kind of the same way. It's like, if I don't get up out of this seat and go out to the production room, none of this ever happened. But then it's like, nope, I just got to get out and do it, and then you're in it, and then when you're done, you're happy you did it.
Yeah, so much glory. You just feel so good.
Yeah.
Just that a surge of energy through you. I can do anything.
That's right.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Exactly. And
the best.
And furthermore, it's a bonding thing within a team.
Yeah.
Like if you get run from behind and I'm without a hesitation, I'm fighting that guy on your behalf, you're going to stand up. If your neck isn't broken, you're going to stand up and be like, Sawyer, thanks, man. And you're not going to forget that. That's going to last a lifetime. You're going to be like, Sawyer had my back. And that is like a socializing thing too. It's like it's a feel good thing, person to person, just even outside of sports. It's 100%. Like that guy had my back. That's pretty cool. Like not everybody has that in their lives, right?
To this day, I remember the people who stood up for me in fights when I've got rocked. To this day.
Yeah.
Never forget it. Just a special thing.
Exactly.
And I always say that in the office, it's, whenever you're working a job and you're not necessarily living a life of excitement, like we talk about people that go to work every day, they're not really fulfilled.
Yep.
Having a little memory of something where you were fulfilled in your life, I think is so important as well. If I remember working jobs I wasn't overly excited about, but I always remembered my times playing hockey and, sitting in the lunchroom, eating a sandwich, I'd have a little smile just to myself because I remembered this time of, you did something once with your life. You can do it again. I can get out of this lunchroom, throw this sandwich away, get out and just start something. Because I've been through the fire of courage of something, to overcome. I can do it again. So those moments are so important to me, and I think to other people. And they're taking them away
to shape your character for the rest of your life. Those are lessons you learn
100%.
and you carry with you forever, right? And it makes you 100%. Who you are.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so do you think the other major junior leagues are going to take out fighting soon? Like you're definitely deeper into sports than I am. Like, what do you think the trend is? Do you think the pro leagues are eventually going to remove fighting? Like, what do you think?
Man. What do you think? 100%. It's just the way. Yeah. Look at what are they? I think you can't not have a visor anymore. I know you can't wear a helmet anymore in the NHL unless you're in warm up, unless you're like grandfathered in, unless you've been playing in the league for 10 years. Like it's just it's thing by thing. I think junior A you can't even wear a visor anymore.
Yeah,
you got to wear a
crazy.
cage.
That's crazy.
It's thing by thing, Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what hockey looks like in 20 years, man. I don't.
Yep.
It's the people running it have never played sport in their life. I don't know. I can't answer that. It's tough though.
Yeah,
but I think fighting will be gone.
I think so too.
Totally.
I think it'll go. And like you said, it's just inch by inch. They know better than to take everything away all at once, but these people are just taking away one thing at a time and then the next thing and then the next thing. And all of a sudden we look back at 10 years of quote unquote progress and all of those things are removed. And we're like, geez, when did this happen? But it happens inch by inch. So nobody really notices, right?
Oh, 100%. It's smart on their part.
Yep.
Don't take it all away. Just take it away inch by inch. And 10 years from now, we'll be playing cricket on skates. That's what hockey will be. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's tough.
I know, like there won't be a place for me in the game at that point because I think I'm too set in my ways with the way that I think the game, the way that I found success in the game. And when I have kids one day, I'll be their little minor league coach, whatever. But I don't think I'll ever be able to work in hockey in a grand capacity. For those reasons, I don't love the direction of the game that's going. And it's really sad because this game put me on. It made me who I am. But yeah, I'm discouraged with the direction it's going.
I won't mention any names, but I have conversations with coaches, high level coaches on a, I guess monthly basis, just chat, how you doing? How's life? And there's a lot of coaches right now that are nervous to protect their jobs. They're terrified. They go to the rink every day not knowing if they're saying the right thing, because if they don't, they could be crucified.
Right.
So, you can look at it one or two ways. You can keep taking away the game inch by inch, or you can let it be and allow these people that know the game to teach it. Because these guys, these coaches going into the room, they're trying to teach the game that they know. But these coaches are 40, 50 years old, and they only know a game that we know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of management right now behind the scenes that are tiptoeing. And how are you supposed to do your job tiptoeing?
That's right. Yep.
How are you supposed to? So I'm not a coach, I'm not a manager, I'm none of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that there's people behind the scenes that are nervous, that can't do their job properly because they're worried. So
yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. Yeah, and it's sad to hear because a lot of those people were probably the ones that had big positive influences on guys like us, right? So it's like, it's sad to know, that those guys feel that way and they've dedicated their lives to the game and now they're just walking on eggshells waiting for the moment that the carpet's pulled out from under them, right?
And some guys don't even want to walk on eggshells. They just say, all right, I'm out.
Right.
I can't teach this game.
Yep. And that's sad. That's kind of my attitude. Like, I play senior now, and that's why I'm hobbling around. I sprained my ankle last weekend. And even senior, like, well, first of all, people love the fights. And we have packed rinks. Like in the playoffs, we had people showing up at our rink at 3 p.m. when the game was at 7, just to make sure they had a seat. And they love the violence of senior, because that'll be one of the last leagues that, that kind of stuff dies down. But even the way the game's going, like I got in a position last year in the playoffs where I went in, the goalie played the puck, I whacked at the puck, looked like I slashed the goalie, whatever, no harm, no foul, probably getting a 2-minute, which I did. For that, the defenseman bigger than me comes in, shoves me in the face, so I push him back. I think I'm in a fight. I've been in 80 fights in my life. That's how they start. Drop my gloves. Of course, I just beat the shit right out of the guy. He doesn't defend himself. I get a 9-minute penalty.
9 minutes.
9 minute. And I said I said to the boys, I'm like, boys, I'm sorry. And we scored shorthanded and won the game in overtime. But anyway, and that's senior hockey for you. But I said to the boys, I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't expect to get 9 minutes. I thought I was in a hockey fight, but even just the way the game is going and the mindset, like this guy comes from the slot, shoves me in the corner, and then doesn't expect me to push back or fight back. It's just confusing to me. And then I get a 9-minute penalty because I got 2 for the slash, 2 for instigating, and then 5 for fighting, and he got absolutely nothing. So there's 9 minutes. And it's just like, what is this sport? Like when I was in the queue, if I did that, I probably would have got 2 for the goalie slash, and we both would have got 5, and that would have been it. So I'm just like, the rules are different, the mentality is different, the way players are playing the game is different, even at the senior level. And I'm just like, my days are numbered, man. Like I'm falling out of love with the game for all these reasons. And it's sad because, like I said, it's the game that put me on.
I will say this though, at the minor levels, like where there isn't really hitting or there isn't really fighting or a physical aspect, the kids are having fun. We do a lot of tournaments like that.
Oh, good.
And the kids are smiling, but it's just getting up to those other age groups where the physicality starts to come into play. Mm-hmm. Maybe those kids are still having fun, but it's just not the most entertaining thing for me to watch. But I will say at the minor levels, kids going to these tournaments with their parents, they're still making those lifelong memories with their kids. Good. Like, that's going to the Quebec Pee Wee tournament and all that stuff. Like these kids are still doing that, smiling. Their parents are just as excited because their kids on the ice making friends. Yeah. So like that level, I still think is doing okay. There'll always be the political aspect with the parents and the coach and the organ. There's always that'll never go. Yeah. But whenever I talk to the kids and I watch them on the ice, still some really big smiles. So
yeah, well that's the main thing. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I mean,
for sure,
it's the game that they're born into, right? So they won't know the difference. We know the difference,
exactly,
right? Which is sometimes being naive is better too. Like that's the game that they're going to grow in love with, and they're going to grow up, and it'll be a softer version of what we played. But if you go back generations, we were a softer generation than generations before us too, playing the game. So
that's a good point. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
It's probably just the evolution of the game, and it's tough. Like every generation looks down at the next generation. Oh, we did it better, like I feel like such an old man saying that, but
fighting, I don't want to be known as the generation to get rid of fighting.
Yeah, I know.
That sucks. That's embarrassing. Yeah. How could we let that happen? You know?
I know, totally. I know.
That's a bad look, but hey, whatever. We didn't make the decision.
Yeah, no, totally. So just before we wrap up, I want to ask you a pair of questions. One, your podcast. What's the like, what's your big goal? Like, what are you trying to achieve here? What's your, like, are you looking to expand here in the Maritimes? Are you looking to maybe centralize in Toronto or move to the States? Or what's your big plan here with the pod? Long-term vision.
I want to stay here. We've had opportunities to go to Toronto and set up a little shop to start interviewing some pro athletes, and I've definitely flirted with the idea, but I love the Halifax market. I think it's so cool. I think it's growing. Well, I know it's growing. I don't think it's growing. I love the size of our company for the size of Atlantic Canada. I feel if we move to Toronto, we're a smaller podcast and a bigger market. So I really love Halifax and Atlantic Canada for this company because the people give you the time of day. The relationships that I've built here over the past lifetime, I guess you could say I've lived here. You know, I love it. So I want to stay here. I want to continue to grow the company here in Atlantic Canada. And then maybe, maybe one day move to Toronto in terms of like streaming hockey. But in terms of the podcast, I really like Halifax. It's hard to explain. I got like a really good connection with the people, the city, the province, the whole thing. So I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I don't really want to change anything. I love podcast. I love streaming. I love, doing the clothing every now and then. Why change what's working, Yeah.
Oh, good. And I mean, it's your home. Like you don't even really need to say much more than that. That's your home, and it's cool. And Halifax is growing so fast. Like anytime I go, there's new condo buildings. The whole downtown area has been completely restructured. It's a growing city. So I think it's pretty cool that your plans are to, sit there and grow with it, right?
Yeah, 100%. I like it here. I'm happy.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right. So where can everybody find you? Where can people access your content? Where can people find the pod?
Just on Instagram, High Button Sports. If you Google the High Button Podcast, we're right there across all platforms. Shopify, or not Shopify. Well, we are on Shopify, but Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, I believe. We're on YouTube. We film the podcast as well. It's pretty easy to access it. Just look it up, and we'll be there for sure. Cool. Awesome. Well, man. I appreciate your time today, Justin, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. No, you're the man, Sawyer. Thank you for having me. And I wish you the best of luck with this podcast, too. Let me know if you ever need any technical help. Yeah, I won't help you. Jeff will help you, the tech guy. I'll send him to you. You can rent them. Yeah, sweet. No, I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming on. All right, buddy. No, talk to you later. See you later. See ya. Peace. The Sawyer Hannay Show.